From what I know and understand, the town of Dell started north of what we know as the town of Dell now, and that it pre-existed probably 1887, which was when the first post office was assigned to a colony or a settlement, whichever that you would have called it back then. The town of Dell started across the Dell Ditch, or what we commonly call the Penobscot Bayou. In later years, it moved to the south side of the bayou, to what we call Dell presently. A man by the name of W.D. Rozelle, who had invested in hundreds of thousands of acres in Mississippi County. He came here from Fayetteville, Arkansas, Washington County. He knew that there was going to be a railroad track coming down the highway. The early colony out here got its supplies was only through or by the Dell waterway, or the Penobscot Bayou waterway. And as a result of the railroad, it changed everything. Mr. Rozelle knew that the railroad was coming through, so he platted a town from out there to down here. Not in need of having supplies to come from the down the Penobscot Bayou anymore, then the residents naturally followed and moved down here. And so where the north of the Penobscot Bayou, or the Dell Ditch out here, all that area used to be a Indian civilization thousands of years ago.
Well, Dell was owned by the Native Americans in the beginning. The Osage actually owned this land for hunting and trapping, and they were very possessive of it. Anyone who came in here were automatically killed or run off. So until 1802, whenever they turned over the land to the U.S. government, there was very few settlers here at all. It was mainly just a hunting ground. The Osage were up in Missouri.
And because of this area in our county was flooded during that time, because we didn't have the drainage ditches to get the water out of here, this was mostly low-lying swampland. That Indian mound is used as a burial place. The settlement or the colony out there in the year 1902 asked for the county to incorporate their settlement and it become a town. They requested that the name of the town be called Rozelle, R-O-Z-E-L-L-E. Well, it just so happened that what I'm told is that this man that platted the town where it's sitting now, his last name was Rozelle. But the county judge of Mississippi County was named Rozelle too.
The original Dell was actually where we are now, which is about 1.5 miles out from Dell. The Penobscot Bayou was the lower boundary of Dell, and this was around 1878 to about 1898 or so, and so it was north of the original Dell. What happened was this was a little community of about 200 people out here. There was no real organized town, but they needed a post office out here. So around 1897, they petitioned for a post office, and they had to call it a community, and they had to name it. everyone met at the school and put a name in the hat. And then they drew out a name, and that's what the post office would be called. There's another story that they met in the school again, but they decided to put in a hat different names, and the shortest one that was put in would be the name of the little community. Well, whenever they went to petition the post office service for their name, they gave them actually 3 different choices. It was Dell, Bland, or Ray. And Dell was the first one they listed, so the community of Dell became Dell.
There had already been another town named Roselle just to the east of Osceola on the river. And so their petition was denied. In 1905, they submitted an application for being accepted as a town under the name of Dell. So Dell's incorporation came about in the year 1905.
The post office was in J.B. Richardson's store, which was down on the Penobscot, which actually is in Dell city limits right now. It's on the southern part of the Penobscot, but most of the community was up this way. There was a little bridge there, and there was a loading dock where the boats could come in and load up the cotton, bring supplies. Everything around here had to be brought in by the Penobscot or through Big Lake somehow, or Little River, because there was no way of getting through the country. There was no trails other than Indian trails at that time. There was so much swampland and forest and trees and overbrush. It was just impossible. But they did have a little gin, cotton gin actually, that was horse-driven. It went around in a circle driving the cotton gin. There were some who grew cotton, and like I said, around 1896 they formed the first school district, and the school was again out in this area, which they also used it for a church. The Indian Mound, there's people buried there that were some of the original families who moved in here, the Hectors and the Daughters and the Perrys. I think the earliest grave there is about 1866. The town has always remained fairly small, around 200 people, 250 people, and I think there's about 210 now. The original churches are all there, except the Church of Christ was torn down several years ago. Most of Main Street has been torn down because the buildings became unusable, and because business has moved out. With more and more people having cars, it's easy to run to a bigger town to get groceries or whatever. Now the post office still remains the hub of the community, and everybody still meets there in the mornings, but it's not the post office that was there whenever I was growing up. It was the post office then was the old white block house that's still down there.
As close as I can get to the date that there was a Dell school was 1902. But that school pre-existed before that out across the bayou where we talked about the town used to be. In 1905, the school moved up to this part of the town. And the first records that I have of it are 1902. And there are pictures of the first building when they built this one-room building in 1902. And then in 1915, they built a new building because population increased. They needed more room for children. Actually, the early churches, the Baptist Church and the Methodist Church, met in the school buildings at that time.
The changes really started whenever we lost our school, whenever the school consolidated with Gospel, which I believe the last graduation was in 1985, I believe. And for that, the then Governor Clinton came and spoke. He was one of the main people who pushed for Dell to consolidate with Gosnell. And one of there were several things that he promised in return for it, but one of them was that the Highway 181 out here would be paved. Up until then, it was only a gravel road. And in order to get to Gosnell, it would be quicker to go the back road. And so the pavement of the road out here is due to that. But at the time that we lost the school, that's the heart of the community. It was a busy place, and now you drive through and there's hardly anything going. You're lucky if you see another car. Not that that's a bad thing. It's a secure little place. People are friendly, just like they always have been. It's family. Most people are kin to each other. So there's been a lot of changes. There's good and bad. But the biggest change, I think, began when the school closed. Little by little, it became more of a retirement community than a community that was filled with the future.